Hello and welcome to the Maurer podcast. Today we are going to talk about launch day. Maurer Limited has launched. So launches are different than they used to be. You know, it's kind of interesting where before, back in the day, you'd be thinking about advertising in magazines, advertising in different places. Now, launch day, or you'd be starting a physical store and you would, have been putting everything on shelves and you would be cutting a ribbon.
Balloons and all
that.
that.
Right, and all of that. And so the modern launch day, it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, especially for us because you really wanted to transition to a really internet-heavy e-commerce website. And so for us, our launch day looks a little different. It looks more like a tech startup than it does necessarily a lifestyle brand.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. And so our launch day was taking a lot of, obviously the website was up and then the Instagram started, but it was doing Insta stories and talking to people on Instagram and talking to people on YouTube and on Facebook and Twitter and, different
yeah, I remember
social
you were over on your side of the risk because I was sort of thinking, I had read about launch days before, technical ones, but it's different when you actually have to go through one. I was thinking it was going to be sort of casual, like, hey, we're over here tweeting. We were quiet for like 2 straight hours at one point because you were over there on Instagram commenting and I was on Twitter. And then suddenly it's just like, wow, this is something else over here. Because although we didn't have like this huge party and although it was just us, it really felt like it was more than that though, because we were talking to people online who were liking and favoriting and congratulating us and all that sort of stuff. So that was really exciting. And not only that, it really was building the digital foundation because it's hard to explain something you've been working on for a year in like one tweet. So it was good to be able to have that open space during that day to tweet about it, tweet a couple of blog posts, share some more photos, answer questions, reach out to some people who really respond to it and just sort of build that foundation of explaining it, at the very least getting out in one day what the brand is and then from there being able to keep going.
Right. And also being able to say, yes, we can answer your questions now, because some of them we weren't being very clear on all the details of what we were doing. And now we can. And so we were, letting people know prices and what the exact items are. And normally in my real life, I've been a fine jewelry designer. And so I have branched out into doing jewelry out of stainless steel and also stainless steel and leather. And some of it is in different colors. So it can be blackened and it can have a gold wash, but the jewelry is at a much lower price point and more accessible. But this brand is also very masculine. And in addition to the jewelry, we've launched with a backpack that's made out of leather and canvas, and it's designed like a drawstring bag that you would see on a basketball court, and that'll come out in different colorways. And so this is what we've launched. And so a lot of people who really know me as a fine jewelry designer were surprised to see that I have a $70 necklace and also surprised to see that I branched into bags. So a lot of it was, there was the normal launch and then hey, are you still designing jewelry? Like, can I still get more stacking diamond rings, or are you done with that? And of course I'm still doing that.
Which is one of the reasons why it really was a launch day, because it's not like you were coming out with a new collection of things. You were launching an entire new universe or a brand it's not in place of your fine jewelry. It's just this other avenue that also made sense over there. So I think the idea of having a launch day sort of helped in the people that were following you for your designs, and that, oh, I see, this is another venture she's doing. She's still making fine jewelry.
Right. But it was also a very different environment. And so while in the background I'd been researching different people that I wanted to connect with and kind of get to know, I hadn't really subscribed to them or followed them because I didn't want them to turn around and subscribe to or follow me and go, wait a minute, she has nothing to do with me. I wonder why she's doing this. So on that day, all of these people I'd kind of teed up to start a conversation with, I started the conversation with. So it's nice. And some of those people are just in the industry, or they're influencers, or, it's just a different brand and a different market. And that's been a lot of fun too. Also, there's another aspect of it that is kind of interesting, where people ask me, as a female, I'm a female, why are you doing a men's brand? And I doubt Michael Kors ever had anybody ask him what made him qualified to design a dress or a skirt. That was kind of a surprise to me, that part of it, of, I don't know, the people expecting that a masculine brand is by definition done by a man. Now, you can't really see that necessarily on Instagram, because it's not really about me. It's totally about the brand. But I did get that question, I guess. Well, the jewelry was always, what people called unisex. It was for men or women. But from some of the people who knew me as a jewelry designer, they were very confused by that, which I found, not everybody.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting that.
I think there's some conversation we had about 3 weeks before launch. We were talking about the brand and some new pictures we had taken and what the message it was sort of giving. And at some point I was just like, this really isn't fair. Like, if you were a guy and you were coming out with a women's accessories and bag line, there would be absolutely no question as to whether or not you could. We wouldn't have to hide it. We wouldn't have to just be like, yeah, I'm making this stuff. Why wouldn't I be able to be? So it is a little, I don't know, I guess unfair is heavy, but I guess it is unfair that you can't just sort of do that the same way.
I guess we can. It's an interesting little puzzle, because obviously I'm not my own muse. Although on YouTube, I'm the one who has the YouTube channel and the one who makes sense, or one of the people who makes sense to talk about it. Obviously, anybody who wears the necklace or likes the necklace or the bag can also talk about it on YouTube. But I did announce it and launch it on YouTube as well, and shared it with my Facebook friends. And
it's also not like you design like, oh, they'll look better with this on over there. Like I've seen you design stuff for you. Like, you want to wear this stuff.
Absolutely.
And it just so happens to be like very masculine style that guys also are like, oh dude, I would totally wear that.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and I could design very feminine things as well. It's just that for this brand, where I was going was masculine. Part of the reason is that I just don't think that men have had as many options as women have. Now, again, I use men and women, but I don't particularly design that way, and I don't really think there are things that are only men's and women's. There are things that are more masculine and more feminine, and I wear both, and pretty much anybody can wear both. But the whole universe of this brand is masculine. I just like the whole universe. Maybe one day I'll do something very feminine, but for me, I think a lot of that has been done very, very well. And there's been some great menswear and different men's accessories, but I just don't think that they've had the range that women have had, and I want to be part of that whole process. The other thing is that it all comes down to me, for me personally, to feminism as well, and that is that feminists, women have embraced being able to be who they are and really explore being very feminine, and also explore being more masculine. And one byproduct of that is an unfortunate byproduct that we need to correct, I think. And I don't know if this is only me as a human speaking, or also me as a mom to boys, but as we feminists have moved along that spectrum, we have unknowingly and inadvertently and not meaning to pushed a lot of men over to the negative side of that spectrum. And I think a lot of men feel that they need to be there and not cross that line. And you see it perpetuated where different influencers will say men can wear a watch but nothing else, or you're permitted to wear one ring, or you can't stack rings, or I don't know, it's weird. Like, those rules don't exist. You can explore too over here on more feminine. You don't have to be over there on the 5% of the masculine scale. And so to me, women are not fully equal until we are not fully equal and free until men are fully free. If you're not free to explore that whole spectrum, I'm not either. It's just this weird thing that we've done.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about, you know, the one group of people that don't have that are musicians.
There are a couple of actors who are able to do it freely, but nobody as freely as musicians have always been able to do it. So, right. So if you think of people like Prince, lead singer of Aerosmith, always had big hair, long hair, scarf on the microphone, wore the big rings, you know, saying dude looks like a lady. And all of that was still okay and should be okay. Whether he's straight or bi or gay is irrelevant. Your style is your style and your sexuality is your sexuality, and those aren't necessarily connected in any way. And focusing on luxury in a lower price point. Now,
yeah, so launch day went really smoothly. And I think the amount of planning we did for it definitely helped, because although we were sort of busy the entire launch day, everything we were doing was planned. First of all, the website we had made, finished, beta tested, tried to find ways to make it not work anymore. Updated it, added new pictures. Those are okay. Let's add some more pictures. So we were really satisfied with the website by the time launch day came, so that it could accept orders, it can inform people. The blogs were up there for them to read. Our story was meticulously written so that they knew exactly what our brand was about.
We had already practiced the whole shipping and packaging thing. We knew we had everything that we needed to package something and ship it. And also we had in steel, it's easier to have some stock, whereas, and there aren't people asking you as much for custom things. Not that would have happened here, but like when we start coming out with rings, for example, they'll be in whole sizes. Nobody's going, I need a 9 3/4, or sort of more of like a 5/8, you know, or whatever it is. So yeah, so we really did a great job of kind of planning all the way from the social media through shipping out the door. And we really didn't have any major glitches. The only thing, there was one person who wasn't there on launch day that I wish was there, and that was poor planning on our part. Because she is part-time and we didn't plan the launch on a day when she was there. Other than that, that's the only thing that I regret about launch day, but everything else I think was really good.
And another thing too is I think we had a good combination of, we want to do the things on social, because a lot of brands, they suffer on launch day because they try to do everything. They're tweeting, Facebooking, MySpacing, whatever it is. We knew what we could do. We knew that it would be you and me, and we knew what social networks work for us. We're a very visual brand, so Instagram made sense, but we were also willing to experiment with doing stories a lot more, which we hadn't really done in the past with previous ones. And it allowed us to sort of figure out, okay, this would be good for a story. Let's give them behind the scenes look at our brand. And then meanwhile, we have our nice branding feed. For the first time, you joined Twitter, which was great.
Right.
Because then we were able to sort of communicate in a less visual way, but a more descriptive way. We could reach bloggers better. We can reach customers better. And even just sort of people that knew you that would be interested in another venture you were doing, just from a personal standpoint, saw it, liked it. So those two, we focused on those two, but we were still experimenting with tagging different people, using different hashtags and stuff like that.
Well,
so
we did a YouTube video that came out that day, and there were responses to that also. I think a lot of my Facebook people were talking to me based on the YouTube video too,
and that gave them a chance to see, because what your video did was it showed them, you got to talk about your brand and what it means to you. You got to show your different products. So in a way, it was an unboxing that, you know, we were able to really show all the features of our product that we wanted to show. And then your YouTube channel, like, it linked to everything in the right way. So if they learned about the brand on Twitter, they knew exactly where they could go to learn more. From the blog site, it would take them to the rest of the products. Like, everything was mapped out in a very easy to use way that didn't confuse people. So And that was, most of that was planning, right? We knew that what the purpose of the channel is, what the purpose of Instagram is, and that's to inform them of the brand. And so we don't want to waste people's time. We want to give them the information they want when they need it.
We also knew from the start that no matter what kind of orders we got or how many orders, that we were not going to ship that day. That the whole day was focused on communicating, and that they could ship the next day, and that would be fine.
Or it's hard to remember sometimes that, especially when it's your brand, we've been exposed to this brand for the last year now, so we know it like the back of our hands. Our conversations now are, is that the right color blue for our skies? And we all just nod our heads at the exact same time. No one outside of us really knows. So another thing launch day allowed us to do was to sort of bring that out of our heads and get it out there for someone to stumble upon, to see the same way that we see it.
Not that they are aware that they're looking at a specific color sky, but yeah, that is the level of minutia we've been dealing with. And then we were back to, oh yeah, it's a drawstring bag. It has, however many pockets, and it,
you can't elevator pitch a launch. You just can't do it. There's too many types. The fact that it's new already lends itself. It's like starting to play a game of Monopoly when everyone's been playing for 2 hours. Everyone's sort of ahead in their online branding. So launch day gives you like a good reason to talk yourself up and like really present your brand.
Right, and it's very different from the old days when you would cut that ribbon and just go, wow, I hope people come.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because we can follow up now. We can see, we had a great new blogger that wasn't really on our radar, retweeted and actually tweeted about our launch, which was great because not only did we get to find out more about them, but we got a better idea of, okay, what kind of blog sites might we fit on, which helps us to sort of focus our future marketing efforts.
Right, and as much as we had sort of researched that world, we didn't, you can't research it, you can't really understand who's going to connect with you and where that's going to lead you, right? So we had different people connect to us and introduce us to whole other areas, because my sort of industry area has been in the jewelry industry, and while there are some jewelry people interested in the stainless steel, and I knew that there would be some masculine bloggers and influencers, there were some areas that I didn't understand would be interested. So, for example, I wasn't really, maybe you were, but I wasn't just really aware of how interested the basketball community would be in the bag. Yes, it's a drawstring bag. Yes, it's an upscale version of pretty much an athletic bag. But while I thought about basketball and like it and was aware of it, I didn't realize how much they would really embrace us.
I mean, I had a suspicion. It's a culture. Basketball is a culture that I am sort of involved in terms of, I used to play it. I love watching basketball. It makes sense to me that was the reaction, because like we were talking about in the early days when you chose to sort of improve the drawstring bag, was that it is a familiar shape that a lot of guys today who maybe have never thought about buying a luxury bag or think it's kind of a weird thing, that might be the bag that would first get them most.
Right, so there were these sort of sneakerheads that were very interested in this.
Yeah, and you can see it too. You can see that bag being used, on an NBA player as he's walking into the locker room, because that's, like we were talking about, that's the male version of a fashion show, or the athletes going to a game. It's purposeful fashion.
Because here in North Carolina, otherwise we never really would have thought of basketball at all.
Oh man. Yeah, no, nothing basketball going on here.
Not at all.
Oh,
no.
Man. No, and this is a big basketball state, so it also helps local wise for the people who were tweeting and checking our Instagram to be a part of that as well.
Right, and we knew it was an influence. Or I can only speak for myself. I knew that it was an influence, but I thought somehow that it would be, even though it was an influence and it came sort of from the basketball world in my head, I thought it would go out to more the fashion community.
That's one of the great revelations of that, is that we realized that, most people are athletes. Like, it's not athletes and people, it's people are athletes.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to be an NBA player to want to take this bag to the gym. You could play football, you could play frisbee, you could swim. Right.
Well, and there's the whole athleisure wear look anyway, that is, everything is a bit more upscale. Even women are wearing sort of sweatpants
And heels.
And one of the things that social media enables brands to do is to really listen and see who you're connecting with, and therefore have it be more of a conversation. Whereas before, when you were selling soap on a soap opera, you're making all kinds of assumptions about the person who is buying it. And now we can make some assumptions, and then quickly that gets fine-tuned.
There's always this, is that if you know that your brand has the website, and the website is the important part of it. Now, you may have a store, but a website's also important about it. For us, the website is the big deal because we don't have a physical location. All of these things we do, social media, stuff like that, it does help from an indexing standpoint with Google, them know that, oh, we are officially this company, so it helps us show up in search. So if someone types in Maurer Limited or luxury drawstring bag by Jill Maurer, we now get the help of, well, since people are talking about it online, Google is going to raise that result so people will see it.
And for me too, even though what I call it is a masculine brand, it is still unisex in the sense that it's for anybody, and we are finding that it is being embraced by women. Now, not all women, obviously, but women who connect with the brand. We're not being embraced by all men. That's not our goal, but
because some of them are connecting, and that's another great part about having you being on Twitter now, is that a lot of people connect with you as a designer or you, and therefore they might be interested in the brand itself. Here's someone who came from the technology industry and has transitioned to become who she wants. I'm a big fan of that idea. So they're interested in your Maurer Limited brand because it represents for them this idea. You can do whatever you want.
You can have chapters of your life that are different. Yeah.
That's also an interesting part of Twitter for us so far. How do you like Twitter so far?
I like it. Sometimes I feel like I'm shouting into the wind.
Welcome to the internet.
Right. It's kind of weird. I just feel like I'm going, hey, this is my opinion.
Right.
And nobody talks back, but then we go and we look at all this. You show me all the statistics and how many times it was actually, all that. Well, it's kind of interesting.
You're funny on Twitter. I know we have back and forths every now and then. You're funny.
People who know me personally know I need to dial back the sass some, even on Twitter. Like, I can get pretty so.
No, I'm very much against that. You need to ramp up
my
the
sass.
Oh yeah, Twitter is built for sass and clapbacks. That's what it's absolutely built for.
Well, even my dog has sass. I'm telling you, like, it's in my family.
No, yeah, but it's been great too because it also allows us to. You had Javier Leyva of Pretend Radio podcast, great podcast by the way. But you had him on your YouTube channel. You interviewed him, and we got to look at behind the scenes of him making his podcast. And now on Twitter, whenever he releases new episodes, not only do we see it, but we can retweet it and share it.
That's really one of the things that I love about Twitter is that, on the Maurer Limited website and on the Maurer Limited Instagram, it's all about Maurer Limited and it's that universe. On YouTube, it's more about things that I'm interested in, but it also needs to fit sort of a certain framework. You're not going to see me, there's certain things that I'm interested in that you're not going to see on YouTube because it just doesn't make sense there. But on Twitter, it's no holds barred. I get to talk about my love for archaeology. I get to talk about my love for fine jewelry, my love for, not only just design in general, but I get to tweet at Elon Musk asking him where my Tesla is. I mean, I get to do whatever I want, you know.
And it also helps people figure out things that you're in, because we also know the only people who have met you are the people who have met you. When people stumble on you online, you've got, in the same way that you've got a couple of seconds to make a first impression, you can make a first impression online too. So if they see things that you tweet or accounts that you follow, or even after reading just a couple of your tweets and see what voice you have, they get a big picture of who you are. And that could end up with them following you or learning more about you, or
running for the hills.
You never know what's going to happen there. It's like putting a bunch of mouse traps all over the internet, but in the good way, in the be my friend way.
Right. So launch day was interesting, because instead of like the normal big party, and we didn't have to order cases of champagne or anything. Like one bottle of scotch did it, and there wasn't all of that. It was sort of this electronic kind of sitting side by side with our thumbs moving, jumping up to the computer, then going to take some video, and kind of a day. And it's interesting looking at, this is the first company I've launched in this way. Even the fine jewelry company that wasn't that long ago was a little more physical. It involved more phone calls and more, just announcing and emails and different things. This was my first sort of very social media kind of launch. And
the great part about us being in control about it, and look, there's a downside to doing not just launch day, but being a solely online presence, in that you survive by other people talking about it. It is going to be a lifelong campaign of here's the product, here's the universe, and imagery and all this stuff. But in the early days, no one's going to talk about your brand like you are. No one is going to feel as highly about it. So there's no one else you should rely on to tell your brand story. Yes, it would be great if someone started a new company and they got all of these bloggers were talking about it and stuff like that. That's great, and that's the eventual goal. But no one on the first day is going to talk about it as nicely as you. So why not make it you?
Right, and then the goal after talking about it is to kind of seek out who's receiving it and who's enjoying it and who likes it. And then because I do want to find influencers, I want to find bloggers and Instagrammers and YouTubers, but I don't want to just go out and pay people who are talking about it because they're getting a check to talk about it. I want to find people who really connect. Every brand I've ever done has been about connection. And so I want to know who really connects with the brand and who loves it. Because listen, there are enough brands for them that they can find the brands that they really love. And there are enough influencers for me. Kind of the beauty of the new marketing, the way that it is, we are down on the long tail, for those of you who are familiar with long tail marketing. So the idea behind launching a new brand now is, we know we're never going to be a Coca-Cola. That isn't the goal. The goal is to make an honest living and make a decent living by creating a product that really connects with a certain number of people. And for me, that is a lot more fun than creating something that is, just sort of sugary sweet and that it appeals to everybody. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Maurer Glass Podcast. If you'd like to learn more about Maurer Limited, it is maurerlimited.com. And on Instagram, it is Maurer Limited. Pretty easy. And Maurer is Maurer, just like Maurer Glass Podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.